This is the Louis T. Network.
In the Lab Room.
Welcome. You are in the Lab Room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. It is Tuesday here in the Lab Room as we start to embark on Week 5 of the National Football League. So, got to put a bow on Week 4 before we can move on to Week 5 before we get started, however. It is October. Today is the first day of October, which means it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And as we know in the National Football League, it is a customary tradition of players to wear pink. So I am doing my part as pink is the color of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I will be donning the pink all month long. And some of you don't like it in the National Football League. Some of you love it. Either way, Breast Cancer Month is here to stay. So get ready for the pink socks, pink towels, pink wristbands, pink everything, pink cleats, gloves, you name it. It's going to be on display every Sunday in October. You'll probably love it for the first week or two. By the last week of October, you can't wait to get rid of all of the pink gear. But in any event, welcome to October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, with that, a little bit of business out of the way, we get to the Monday night matchup. And what a monumental matchup it was, pitting two 3-0 football teams versus each other. Someone's had to go. The Miami Dolphins going on the road to the Big Easy to take on the New Orleans Saints. Both teams 3-0 coming into this football game, playing some really good football, especially on the defensive side of the football, which is probably the biggest surprise for both of these teams. Both of these teams, not so much the Dolphins. I take that back. The Dolphins probably are more surprising on the offensive side than the defense. This Saints team couldn't play defense if you paid them the last couple of seasons. They've played really good defense under Rob Ryan. So a clash of these two 3-0 teams, wanted to see who would be able to win out. I felt like the Saints were the better team and they were at home. Had this game been in Miami, could be a different story. Had Cameron Wake played. But Wake didn't play. This game wasn't in Miami. It was in New Orleans. And I thought the Saints would be able to take care of business, and that they did. But let's talk about how this game came to be in the favor of the New Orleans Saints. They got out to a quick, fast start. And much of it because of the legs and the hands of Darren Sproles. Look, they used him in this game, and I think the first play of the game set the tone, where they ran an out and up, essentially. A route where they sent him to the flats, and they saw something on film with the safety, and he's a standout safety for the Miami Dolphins, one of the better safeties in the National Football League, Rashad Jones. They saw something on film with this guy, because you don't come out in the first 15 plays, which are always scripted. You don't come out and run a play on the first play of the game on an out and up. Normally you set those type of plays up. Well, they didn't set it up. They didn't waste time with throwing one or two plays out in the flats to Darren Sproles to set this thing up. They went out and up immediately, out into the flats, up the field on a wheel route, and they got Rashad Jones. He was being nosy, and they saw something. They took advantage of it, and right off the bat, boom, you're looking at about a 45-yard gain to start this game off. Saints go down the field, get a touchdown on their first possession to open things up. But the Dolphins weren't fazed by that touchdown. They go down and they put together an impressive drive of their own, but they only get a field goal, which was surprising because coming into the game, they led the league in red zone scoring percentage. 7 of 8 went in the red zone getting touchdowns, and so 88%. They were getting it done in the red zone scoring touchdowns. They had to settle for a field goal on this particular drive, 7-3. But look, this Dolphins team, a lot of people want to talk about how they were thrashed in this game and how they were beat up. They made the mistakes that they haven't been making all season long. They turned the football over. They did some things that you can't do on the road. Mike Wallace had a huge drop on a deep ball that could have really did some things for this offense. They did some things you can't do on the road. And the end result was a loss. But look, make no mistake about it, they had opportunities in this football game. And minus Cameron Wake, they hung in. This defense was playing ball. Even though they got gashed, even though Darren Sproles had a field day, even though Drew Brees went over 400 yards passing, this defense played ball. They could not run, could the New Orleans Saints. There was no running. Jared Odrick had a big game early on. Paul Soliai was in the backfield. They played well enough early on to win this football game. The events that followed later on in the game caused them to look like they were blown out and made this game look like it was lopsided, which it was, but it really wasn't. If you watch this game, the Dolphins made some mistakes. Saints took advantage of those mistakes, and that's your difference in this football game. But let's go to the momentous moment of this game, because I thought this was where the game changed. And the Saints were up 14-10. Dolphins just got a huge stop to get the football back to Ryan Tannehill and this Dolphins offense before the half. They're driving the football down the field. They're almost at midfield are the Dolphins when Ryan Tannehill commits a no-no. You can't stare down receivers in the National Football League. These corners are too good. They read your eyes. They see where you want to go with the football. They make a play on it. It was just like John Gruden said, it was a wider split, which means 9 times out of 10, you widen up your splits, it's an in-breaking route. And normally it's quick game. Something quick, drag, slant, come back, something quick to the inside. And the corner Jabari Greer read it perfectly. Tannehill stared it down. It was a slant to wide receiver Brian Hartline. Jabari Greer read it beautifully, jumped the route, picked it off, took it back into Dolphins territory. Drew Brees, you knew he was going to capitalize off of that mistake that Tannehill and the Dolphins offense made. They get a touchdown, extend the lead to 21-10, and they never look back from that point forward. They jump on this team and ultimately get it done 38-17 in this football game. The Saints were magnificent on offense. This defense was solid. They weren't great. I thought the Dolphins did some things in this game, if not for the Tannehill fumble, if not for that Tannehill pick before the half. This Dolphins offense was moving the football. They were playing with confidence. They were running the football as well. I thought this Dolphins team didn't play that bad. Everyone wants to make it out to seem like they were thoroughly dominated and they were never in this game. They were in this football game. They did some things that has been uncharacteristic of them in this 2013 season, turning the football over. They've stayed clear of that for the most part. They weren't able to do that in this game. They made some critical mistakes, turned it over. Drew Brees and company took advantage of it. They were minus Cameron Wake, which was a detrimental blow to them defensively. You got guys dropping passes. Gibson drops a pass. Mike Wallace drops a pass. They weren't sharp in this game, and it cost them. But make no mistake about it, this is a good Dolphins football team. I thought they played well. I thought they made mistakes that cost them this football game. If he doesn't throw that pick, and let's say they go down the field because they were driving, even though they weren't in Saints territory yet, let's just assume they get a field goal here. It's 14-13 going into the half. They're playing with confidence. They would have been in this football game. Instead, you throw a pick, it turns into a touchdown, you're down 21-10 at the half, and things balloon from there. And so I think this Dolphins team is okay. They're going to win more games. They're going to be a good football team. I don't think that this game means anything in terms of, oh, they got blown out, they're not ready for the big time or anything like that. I thought they made some mistakes that cost them on the road. You can't turn it over on the road. They did that. They paid for it. But I think this is a good Dolphins team, and I think that they're ready for the big time. And I look forward to watching this Dolphins team more in 2013 because I think they're a very talented group on both defense and offense, and their special teams can get it done with Thick Pen, and we saw him a little bit on offense in this game with a big play. They've got guys that can get it done on both sides of the football. This is going to be a dangerous team. And even though they lost in this game, and they lost big, I thought that they inflicted some wounds to themselves that cost them this game. And not to take anything away from New Orleans, because they dominated, and they played well, and they got it done on offense, and they couldn't stop Darren Sproles, and they exploited mismatches that they created on offense with Jimmy Graham, with Darren Sproles. They did some things creatively to get these guys the football in space, and they took advantage of all the opportunities that were given to them by the Dolphins and that they created themselves. So take nothing away from the Saints. They got it done in an environment where they're supposed to win at home and they're a dominant team at home, and they got it done. But I think the Dolphins handed them some gifts, and they happily accepted those gifts and took off and won this football game. I saw some things that I like from the Dolphins here, but the Saints were the better team. They got it done. They're now 4-0 on the season as they win this one 38-17. Dolphins dropped to 3-1. They have nothing to be ashamed of. They turned the football over. That's what happens when you turn the football over. They turned it over. It cost them the football game. So I think the Dolphins played well, but not well enough to win. You turn it over, you deserve to lose. Saints get it done. This team is explosive offensively. Now they're playing some defense. They're a dangerous group. Sean Payton is happy to be back. You saw the excitement, the joy that he had on the sidelines yesterday. Big win for the Saints at home versus an undefeated Miami Dolphins football team. They get it done. They're 4-0. And they look up in the standings, or should I say they look down in the standings, and no one's even close. Atlanta's 1-3. Carolina's 1-2. Tampa Bay's 0-4. They can run away and hide with this division if they like. If they continue to play good football, if they have one of these seasons like they had in their Super Bowl year when they started the season off 13-0, if they have one of those starts to the season, they'll run away and hide with this division because no one in this division outside of them right now is playing good football. Now the Panthers, coming off of a bye and a win, we can see if they could string together a group of wins or so because they have some winnable games coming up. But right now, they got this division all to themselves, do the New Orleans Saints, and they got to feel good about what they have accomplished early in the first quarter of the season. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, a little disappointed at the performance that they put forth on the field in this game with the turnovers, drop passes, and things of that nature. But if you're the Dolphins, you feel good about the start to the season. You're 3-1. Patriots are 4-0 after they won on Sunday Night Football. So you're a game behind the division-leading Patriots, but you feel good about what you've accomplished in this first quarter of the season. If you can continue to play football this way and extrapolate this 3-1 record over the entire season, you're 12-4. So if you can play this brand of football, this type of football for the duration of the season and beat some teams in your division like the Patriots, like the Bills, like the Jets, dominate in your division, you can not only win this division, you could have a very high seed in the AFC conference. So it's early to be talking about the playoffs and using the P word, but this Dolphins team looks really good. And they struggled on Monday, but this is a good football team. So with that game out of the way, let's throw it up. Touchdown. Let's tack on this quick extra point and get out of here. Looks like my buddy Mark Sanchez might be done in New York. We know about the torn labrum. He tried to run away from surgery. He tried to rehab it and do it the natural route and allow it to heal on its own so he wouldn't have to go on IR and end his season. He finds out and he realizes, I can't do this. I need surgery for this thing to heal properly, for me to extend my football career. I'll go ahead and elect to have the surgery and probably, most likely, end his tenure as a Jets football player. It's been a tumultuous ride. It started out with a bang, 2 straight AFC championship games where he performed well in those seasons, especially in the postseason. On those runs to the AFC championship game, he looked like a guy that was worth trading up for in the draft to acquire as the franchise QB for the Jets. And then the bottom fell out, and he progressively got worse and worse as the seasons wore on. And here we are at the end of the Mark Sanchez saga in New York. And to me, it's not fitting. I was reading a column and they said it was fitting that it ended this way. No, it wasn't fitting that it ends this way. It was supposed to end with him throwing interceptions and being benched and Rex Ryan being fired because his team is a disaster. It was supposed to end in a huge wildfire with everyone getting burned up in this Mark Sanchez flame of garbage. But it didn't. He fizzled out. This thing was ended like a pop gun. It was supposed to go out with a boom shotgun blast. It went, and so very disappointing from that standpoint that this thing is over like this. But all in all, Mark Sanchez, wasn't the man in New York that we thought he was going to be. Everyone gave this man a label, Sanchez, and the Jets traded up to get him, and they tried to force the starting quarterback role, the franchise QB role on this guy, and he was never it. Even though he started out well, he was never that guy. And so it'd be interesting to see what the future holds for Mark Sanchez, because honestly, he's not a starter in this league. I don't think he'll get a chance to be a starter anywhere else. The question is, where will he land, and what role and what capacity will he fill? Because he's going to be a backup, but where? Is this a situation wherever he lands where he's one hit away or he's some bad play away from getting a starting job again? Who knows? We'll see. If he goes to the right situation, maybe a team like Minnesota or a team like Cleveland or a team like Jacksonville, he'll have a chance to start again. But if he lands somewhere like a David Carr did, in a situation where there's a guy in front of him that's the unquestioned starter that isn't going anywhere, that doesn't miss any games, like Eli Manning in New York, if he goes somewhere like that, then this guy probably will never play again, and we'll see. But it's just frustrating to see it end this way. I wanted more. I wanted more Mark Sanchez, and I didn't get it. I got cheated because I wanted to laugh more. I wanted to see more of Mark Sanchez, and maybe he was going to actually put it together this year. Who knows? I doubt it. But it was going to be fun to watch. Instead, this is how it ends. See you later, Mark. It was a good ride in New York. Had fun. Had a lot of fun. So that's going to do it here in the lab room on Tuesday. Thank you for joining me on the program. Want to see you back here Wednesday when I break down my Pick'em Weekly. Man, was it a rough week. We'll get into that tomorrow. And I'll look forward to Week 5 on Wednesday. So come back here tomorrow when we break that all down. If it happens here in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. See you tomorrow. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the L.A.B.